as well. This will give us native interface to Actron Air. It's probably Australia's biggest air conditioning system. We can do native control with an Actron Air system with this system. So we can literally pull out an Actron Air thermostat. We can put this in its place. This will be powered by the Actron Air system, and it will wirelessly communicate two-way back to a Prodigy system, and we can see the temperature and turn the system on and off from any of the Prodigy interfaces. Sits on Actron's bus. Yep, natively. And the e-control interfaces, which I touched on. As I said, I think this is a big deal because the remote control bands are scared of this sort of stuff, and this is out-of-the-box functionality with a Crestron system. It's with a Prodigy system. It's no different to program an e-control interface, an X panel or a Mobile Pro interface on a Prodigy system as it is to program a touch panel, and you get the same functionality straight out of the box.
So if I'm roaming around outside my house,
yeah.
Let's say I'm in another city,
yeah.
would I still be able to control my system?
Absolutely, because you can use the X panel can be done through, it can either be done through a browser or it could even be done through 3G. In fact, I was at a dealer recently and we were fooling around in his showroom, and until this time, about 3 months ago, I'd never seen a Prodigy system or a Crestron system demonstrated on 3G from an iPad. And it was fascinating for me to watch because he had the AV system set up, he's standing there with his iPad and he had a connected 3G and he's tapping the channel change and the system was changing as fast in front of him as though it was IR coming directly out of the iPad. And that's pretty spooky because that's going out to the web through the 3G network and controlling the stuff right in front of him. So if you want a wandering installation, you obviously got the ability to do it through Wi-Fi or through 3G when we're talking about the iPad and the iPhone interface. It was a really compelling demonstration actually. With Prodigy, we can do the DIN rail lighting as well. So we support we've covered these products yesterday. So in a Prodigy system, we can do out-of-the-box functionality with the 4-channel dimmer, the leading-edge dimmer, or with the 8-switch relay as well. And we get out-of-the-box two-way feedback with these units. So we can get feedback to any Prodigy user interface and some really funky things with it. We can do live scene storage as well, so I can adjust the channel levels for the various dimmer channels, and then I can press and hold and store a scene live on any Prodigy interface. So some really funky out-of-the-box functionality with the Crestron DIN rail dimmers. If you want to use a third-party keypad, this is the little unit that does that. This little box, the Uni 8IO, it's about the size of a 50-cent piece or smaller, sits in behind any sort of mechanical keypad, and it allows you to do dry contact closure into this little box, sits on the CresNet, and now we can control the Prodigy system for distributed audio or for lighting from any third-party keypad. And it also gives you 8 out. So if this mechanical keypad has LEDs, we can power the LEDs to get true feedback on that as well. So you can use any third-party mechanical keypad as part of a Prodigy system. This is actually a Crestron product, not specifically belongs to the Prodigy range, but it turns up in the Prodigy software, so you can use this product anywhere. With Prodigy, you've got flexible programming options as well. So we have the Prodigy Composer. So it's a little 12-step wizard for configuring a system. You'd use this for majority of your systems. For Prodigy, for small system, there's a good way to get the system up and running fast. And it will build the system in a predefined way as outlined in the system system user manual. And it'll build the system in the same predefined way every single time. You have a network wizard, so you don't need to be, you can give this to a junior programmer, junior installer to set the system up. You don't need to be a network guru to get the system up and running. It sets all this stuff up for you. It sets all the IP addresses, it sets all the CresNet addresses, and it sets up the Infinite RF network without you having to be a network guru. Obviously, then we can edit the project system builder, so we'd compose it. We'd build the system in Composer. It would set up all the configurations, and then we can do customization in the system builder platform. In the last week, there's been some really big updates in System Builder 2, which I'll cover for those System Builder users in the room. For those for the freelance and experienced programmers, you can also program Prodigy in Simple and VT Pro as well, and that's going to give you the maximum flexibility. So you don't have to program it if you're not a Composer guy or if you're not a System Builder user. You can program Prodigy in Simple and VT Pro. And to be honest, that's where we've had the most success with it as well. We've got our experienced Crestron programmers who've launched into Prodigy in a big way, and these guys have been programming it in Simple and VT Pro. So you can program it in whichever environment you want. And just like Vicky was showing before with the ProSize tools, we have a similar tool for Prodigy as well, which is used to configure the preamp, and no doubt will be used to configure some other products that get added to the Prodigy lineup. But in here you can do things like turn on volumes, maximum volumes for each zone, bass and treble, and things like that. So that little once over there was just to give you an idea of where Prodigy is at today. We've been shipping Prodigy now for about 12 months. And as I said, I think Crestron really just been dipping the toe in the water with this Prodigy lineup, but there's a lot of effort being thrown in this product lineup now. Let's have a look where it's going. I couldn't fit all these things on the slide pretty much. This is all, I'm going to give you some rough indications of release dates on this sort of stuff, on these products as well. But this will give you an idea of where the Prodigy lineup is going. First of all, Prodigy is going to be taking advantage of the new Core 3 architecture. So Core 3 has been talked about a lot in the last couple of days. So we're going to be seeing Core 3 in the Prodigy lineup, and we'll see this in the next few weeks as we see the new Core 3 processor in the Prodigy lineup. So we have some benefits straight out of the box with the 3 series processor, faster processor, more storage, and some more functionality. So the first part of this is going to be the PMC3. This will more or less replace the PMC2. The PMC2 will still be available, but the PMC3, for a little bit more cost, will give you a lot more functionality straight out of the box. It's the same spec as the MC3. It sits in the same chassis as the new MC3. One of the fundamental differences with this is, unlike the MC3, it only runs one program. So we can't run the 10 programs like we can on an MC3. So all those other things are the same, Ethernet and CresNet. It's got the Infinite gateway built in. It's got the same combination of serial, IR ports, relays, inputs. But it's got some new stuff going on the back like the MC3. So it has stereo audio in and out, component and composite, and I'm going to talk about these in a bit more detail, and some 2 USB host ports, which are new as well. So these are the features that are going to be available with the PMC3 from launch. So we're looking to ship this product in April. We have one sitting out in the foyer there. You can have a look at the unit, and you can spin it around and have a look at the connectors on the back. So what I wanted to do was point out the things that you can do with the PMC3 now, and then the things that you're about to do with it pretty shortly. So straight out of the box, you've got more system maximums. I'll just rattle a few off. I didn't want to put too many bullet points in here, but you can now connect more devices to it. So we can now do 4 iPod docks. We can do 4 radio tuners. We can do 18 user interfaces on a single Prodigy processor. So 6 of each type of user interface. So a lot more connectivity, a lot more horsepower obviously in the processor. Big thing for me, I think a big step up for Prodigy is we can now do processor-to-processor communication. There's a limitation in the original Prodigy lineup. So now we can do a structured system with multiple processors in a job, all communicating with each other, and I'll explain how that works. My Crestron built in. This is a dynamic DNS service that Fred touched on yesterday. I'll explain a bit about that in more detail. Weather service built in, the USB host, we can do triggered audio files. So we can load audio content onto USB, plug it into the Prodigy system, and we can now trigger those audio files for WAV file playback. The on-screen display will be available in May, June for Prodigy. Now, the on-screen display is all connected to this Core 3 framework. I was asking the guys at Crestron, how come we're releasing this product? It's an obvious question. Why are we releasing this product? We don't have the on-screen display functional for the first couple of months of release. It's all tied up with this Core 3 framework that will come out with the touch panels at the same time. So it's a customizable flash-driven GUI that will be driven out of the video outputs on the processor. You have a stereo audio in, which is a day 2 feature. This will be enabled down the track, so we'll be able to plug an analog audio source into a Prodigy processor and turn it into a streaming audio source. So there's some more features coming for Prodigy. We also have then the PMC3 XP. So there'll be 2 new Prodigy processors. The PMC3 XP is as per everything I just described on the PMC3, but the XP allows connection to any Crestron device, and I think this is a really, really big step for Prodigy. So now we don't have the Prodigy world and the Crestron world. Those 2 worlds are now combined. So we can get a PMC3 and we can connect any device to it, any combination of Prodigy devices. So it actually makes it more powerful than a full-blown Crestron processor, because I can't grab a Crestron processor and plug Prodigy into it. but I can plug a PMC3 XP and I can plug any combination of devices into it. So I've just rattled off a few options there that to sort of spark your imagination of the sort of combinations you might put together, but you can put anything into a PMC3 XP and otherwise the same connectivity as the PMC3. This is a brand new feature in the software as well. This works a little bit different to remote system definition and other methods that you might have used in Ethernet slave. This is a little bit different. This is an out-of-the-box functionality, is the multicast feature. This allows communication between processes that are sitting on the same network, and it gives you a bunch of predefined macros straight out of the box. You plug the multiple Crestron processors on the network. This will work with a PMC2 as well, so it's retrofittable on an existing processor. You can revisit an existing Crestron job if you want to that's got a bunch of PMC2s. You can put them all on the network. You can run this multicast feature. The processors will find each other on the network, and then we can run global macros. So we could do like a whole house off, and automatically it will run the all off macro on every single processor as a global macro. So it comes with about 10 or 15 predefined macros of that sort of nature, and then you can also build custom macros as well. For me, this is a limiting factor in Prodigy. I think this is a really big step in Prodigy to be able to do processor-to-processor communication. And as you can see in the diagram there, can be any combination of processors that you can use to use this multicast, this new multicast feature. There's some more technical details. You can go on True Blue and you can see the specifications of it, what it's capable of doing as well. But it's really funky because it does it predefined without you having to build custom macros. That feature is available right now. This feature is also available right now as well. This is a new Prodigy feature, the weather service. So this is a live current weather forecast on any Prodigy user interface. It could be iPad, it can be Prodigy touch panel, full two-way feedback. It works internationally as well. This is not a US-only feature. I had a bit of a play around with it the other day. It's got a whole bunch of Australian cities in there. You can put the city in there, or you can bang in the longitude and latitude, and it will come up with a weather forecast for your local area. So a really funky feature, a really powerful thing to offer on what's essentially a budget price system. Here's another feature that's available today. So this is a brand new feature, mycrestron.com. Dynamic DNS server. Fred covered this yesterday. So this gives you maintains the URL for remote mobility control regardless of the IP address. So if you've got your ISP, you haven't got a fixed IP address, doesn't matter. You can set up your mycrestron.com and it'll allow control from xPanel or from an iPhone remotely. You can have a nice simple URL. It could be your home at crestron.com, and you can control that system remotely regardless of how many times your ISP changes your thing. And I like these things because this separates you from the guy down the road who's selling, the guy out of the van who's selling the remote control brands. This allows you none of these things can be delivered on those remote control brands. Really powerful features.